This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/get started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get started.
Because you're robbing yourself of the game experience by cheating.
I'm not robbing myself of the game experience. I'm just removing the boring farming stuff.
It's not boring, Cecil. It is a boundless imaginarium.
Your tea, sir.
Oh, man, that is ripe. Yeah, definitely ripe. Wow.
Excellent, sir.
Hey, guys. Oh, my God. What is that smell?
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoy it, sir.
Why is he talking like that? And what the hell is going on?
Yeah, he wanted to help with the essay, so he's doing a thing.
Indeed, Dr. Enright, and here I am, the Smelly Butler.
Oh, God.
No, Eli. Smedley.
You had to see that
Smedley
coming.
Butler. He's a war hero turned anti-war crusader.
I see. It appears I have been gravely mistaken.
Yeah.
I appreciate the effort, though, I guess.
Did you smear yourself in cat shit?
Indeed, Mr. Something Italian, indeed.
I'm going to bury you in litter. Welcome. Citation Needed podcast where choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we are experts because this is the internet and that's how it works now. I'm Cecil and I'll be leading this charge today, but I can't do it without my troops. So here they are: Admiral Snack Bar, Corporal Punishment, and Major Disappointment, Heath, Noah, and Eli.
It's a trope. We do this.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
I love it. My nickname beats you guys. Beats.
Oh, man, the prophecy came true.
And we all just want to thank our patrons for giving us our marching orders each week. If you'd like to learn how to join their ranks, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Eli, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
We'll be talking about Smedley Butler, who I've just been informed before this record is not a cartoon woodland animal. So yeah, gotta write my jokes again.
So, Noah, which Bill Bryson book did you get this particular story from?
Okay. So joke's on you, Cecil. I did not learn about this from a Bill Bryson book. I learned about this guy from a Facebook meme because I am broadly read.
Broadly read, yeah, that's how I describe it. So, who was Smedley Butler?
Well, so he was the most highly decorated Marine in U.S. history during his lifetime. But his dad kind of ran the Marines at that time. And if you feel like you kind of liked him and then you kind of didn't, get used to that feeling because his story is a fucking yo-yo of sympathy. Right? He wins awards for bravery, but it was in some of the most blatantly evil capitalistic shit the U.S. military ever did. But then he realized war was a racket to the point of publishing a book called War is a Racket.
Okay.
But he was kind of fascist when he worked at as Philadelphia's director of public safety. But he managed to single-handedly thwart a fascist attempt to overthrow the U.S. government.
Okay.
But he might have made that part up.
Oh.
It's going to be a roller coaster of a story is what I'm saying.
I don't... forget it. Where does Smedley's story start?
Where everybody's story starts, Cecil, their mom's vagina, which Smedley parted with on July 30th of 1881. He was born to Maud and Thomas Butler. Thomas was a lawyer, judge, and eventually a congressman. Maud was a lady in the 1800s. And the Wikipedia article has a weird, almost eugenics level note about how white Smedley was. Quote, both of his parents were of entirely English ancestry, and their families had been in North America since the 17th century, end quote.
Okay, when I did 23andMe, they sent me back sunscreen and an armband, so I get it.
Yeah. I got a blood pressure cuff and a fill-in-the-blank will, so,
Yes.
I get it.
Okay, we both got an armband.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
Am I in the will?
So as a teenager, I'll save
My
you,
signal
Eli.
is
So
broken.
Am
as
I
a
in your will?
teenager,
Unbelievable.
young Smedley attended high school at the Haverford School in Philadelphia, which was apparently already snooty even way back then. But in July of 1898, Smedley dropped out of school to fight in the Spanish-American War. He had to lie about his age. He was barely 17 at the time. But you got to feel like the military could have found out for sure, given that his dad was at this time an influential congressman that chaired the goddamn House Naval Affairs Committee.
Whoa, you can't just join the army at 17. That's dangerous. Also, what the hell are you doing out of the textile factory? Who let you out?
Right.
We're ignoring
Who
age.
let you out of the mines to begin with?
We're ignoring age, Cecil. It's like when Dane Cook picks a girlfriend, okay? It's a time-honored
Jesus Christ.
tradition.
All right, so this Nepo baby element is worth keeping track of throughout, by the way, because there's no doubt that Smedley was a brave dude, and by all accounts, he was good at most of the soldiery stuff, but his citations also seem way out of line with his actual deeds, and there's every reason to believe his superiors were looking for opportunities to slather him with awards as a way of buttering up his dad. So anyway, so he shows up in Cuba as a Marine second lieutenant, but he gets there too late to actually do anything. Apparently, they liked the way he stood around and waited, though. So in 1899, he's commissioned as a first lieutenant and sent to Manila to fight in the Philippine-American War. Now, that is a war that we don't actually talk much about in this country because it's real hard to pretend we were the good guys in that one. It might be illegal to teach about in Florida. And that's going to be another theme of this episode, by the way. Smedley Butler manages to Forrest Gump his way into basically every terrible foreign policy decision the country made between the Spanish-American War and fucking World War I.
Okay, so like a really good soundtrack, but the story's like super long and overrated, and like other movies from that
wins
year
an Oscar,
clearly better.
even though Pulp Fiction came out
should
that
have won.
year. Yeah.
Or Shawshank.
So, or Shawshank, or Four Weddings and a Fucking Funeral. I don't care. Just not
Quiz
fucking
Show
Forrest
would have been
Gump.
cool.
Quiz Show was good. Yeah, right. Any of the others. Yeah. So, for those unfamiliar, the Spanish-American War was a war against colonialism that the Spanish ended by agreeing to give us some of their colonies. That included the Philippines, but the Filipinos didn't seem to understand how lucky they were to be colonized by anti-colonialists. So we went in and killed them until they did. And that's where Smedley came in. He saw his first action in the Philippines when he led 300 Marines to take a town from Filipino rebels. The best Wikipedia is willing to say of his effort, though, is that he, quote, briefly panicked, but he quickly regained his composure and led his Marines in pursuit of the fleeing enemy, end quote. One of his men was killed, another 10 wounded, and another 50 were, quote, incapacitated by the humid tropical heat. End
Sorry,
quote.
1890s Eli was like, I'm sorry, can you put down that I got too hot and had to sit down and drink a Gatorade next to the fact that Steve died and those guys got you? Thank you. BOS. Are you writing?
Yes.
Do you have a note from your
Yeah.
mom
Mhm.
about this?
It says you have to give me a purple heart.
This is a war.
You have to give me a purple heart for Schwitz. It says it.
Yes,
Oh my
yes.
God, I hate you. I'm going to frag you so fast.
Slur.
All right, so now that one battle. All right, so now that one battle would be about all the action that he'd see in the Philippines. But in 1900, the Marines would ship him off to China for America's part in the Boxer Rebellion. There, he took part in the Battle of Tientsin, which is a romanization of Tianjin, where he would earn his first medal for bravery. So during the fighting, he saw another man get shot. He climbed out of his trench to save the guy, but in so doing, he got shot in the thigh. And then a third guy came out to save both of them, but then that guy got shot in the leg. Butler ended up rescuing both of the guys. And then 2 weeks later, he celebrated his 19th birthday.
Okay, like good stuff. I get he was trying to save the first guy. That's brave. But I feel like he should have to wear a medal of stupid along with the bravery one if he's getting a bravery one. Like for the total plus minus being negative on our team getting shot. You have to
No,
wear
that's
the
true,
minus
yeah.
one. too.
Meanwhile, over in the Chinese
Right.
bunker, the guy's like, head, Alan. I said aim for their heads.
Now, 4 Marines were awarded the Medal of Honor in this battle. Apparently, Smedley wasn't eligible for it because of his rank, but like 20 years later, they would retroactively award him the Brevet Medal, which seems to be a one-off, like medals we really should have given out at the time type thing they did.
So it's like a presidential indictment. You don't give it out at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You wait. Yeah.
Right.
It
Something
feels like
that.
they were about to say bravery, but they switched like during it and like they were like brevet. Brevet.
So from there, Butler would go on to participate in a series of so-called police actions in Central America and the Caribbean that would be later dubbed the Banana Wars, because we were literally killing people to protect the financial interest of banana companies.
Oh, literally, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, but now those weren't the only reasons for those conflicts. There were also tobacco and sugarcane interests at stake.
Yeah, and a good name for a store to get some nice, sensible chinos was also at stake.
I still, to this day, cannot understand.
You get a sweater?
So it's during this period, by the way, that Smedley Butler would earn his first nickname, Old Gimlet Eye. I have no idea why. Like, there's an explanation in the wiki, and I read it, and I'll tell it to you, but I still won't know why. So apparently, there was a revolution in Honduras, and the Americans needed to get the American consul the fuck out of there. So he takes a group of Marines into an active battle zone. Apparently, he looks so goddamn mean and intimidating that both warring factions just call a timeout and stop fighting long enough for the Marines to go in, get their consul, and get out.
That's awesome.
And right, I have no idea if this affected his persuasiveness, but apparently Butler had some kind of weird tropical disease at the time that left his eyes just demonically bloodshot, so he was apparently way scarier looking than usual, and this is why they called him Old Gimlet Eye. But like a gimlet is an old-timey hand drill for really small holes. I have no idea what the therefore is even doing in that sentence.
Yeah, Gimlet is also a cocktail, so maybe he looked like Ernest Hemingway.
It's like gin or vodka and lime juice. So maybe a gimlet got thrown in his face, like after he got amnesia, fucked an evil twin in a soap opera or something like that.
I'm sorry. I just want to be clear. The story Wikipedia repeated was that this guy showed up to a war and everyone on both sides was like, whoa, that guy looks like Noah has since he was 14. Time out war to hear what he wants.
To be honest, it was just like nobody wanted to shoot a Marine and start a fucking war with the United States over it. That's why they were able to get in and out. But he would go on to lead a battalion in Nicaragua and, of course, in Panama. It was in Panama that you could see him start to question the good in what he was doing. By now, he's married. He's got 2 kids. He writes a letter to his parents regarding his last campaign in Panama that contains this damning sentence, quote, "What makes me mad is that this whole revolution is inspired and financed by Americans who have wildcat investments down here and want to make them good by putting in a government which will declare a monopoly in their favor." Adding, quote, "The whole business is rotten to the core," end quote.
And this would be the last time our business interests dictated any of our foreign policy. Lesson
thankfully.
learned. Lesson learned.
Thankfully. Now this episode is legal in Florida, right? Now, of course, realizing he was killing people to protect somebody else's profits wasn't enough to get him to, like, change careers. So he kept on being a Marine. In 1914, he'd earned his first Medal of Honor in Mexico. Now, it's important to note here that in the years following the Mexican Revolution, the U.S. came really close to just invading Mexico and trying to colonize the whole damn country, to the point that Smedley Butler actually went into Mexico undercover, posing as a railroad exec that was looking for a lost employee. He did a whole big spy mission to determine the country's military readiness under that guy.
I feel like he showed up for the mission dressed like an Aztec warrior with like a suit jacket over it. And they're just like, Smedley, you're an American railroad guy for the undercover. What are you doing, man? All right.
So in 1914, when then President Woodrow Wilson decided to send the Marines into Veracruz to intercept an arms shipment to the Mexican government, they figured, who better to lead it than Smedley Butler, who had firsthand knowledge of the place.
All right, men. This here is the lobby of the La Quinta Inn I stayed in while pretending to be a businessman. We take the waffle maker at dawn before it's too dirty and one of them is off for some reason.
So Smedley's forces landed on April 21st of 1914. They spent 5 days rooting out snipers and resistance fighters through door-to-door street fighting shit. Then they occupied the city for 6 super-duper illegal months. By the end of the occupation, the U.S. reported 17 dead and 63 wounded to the Mexicans' 126 dead and 195 wounded. So, win for us. Our side.
Okay, but do we know the dehydration numbers?
We don't, and those are probably pretty high. You're right, that probably balances it out. Anyway, so Butler was awarded a Medal of Honor for his actions in holding the city, though even he didn't know why. In fact, he tried to return the medal during World War I, saying he'd done nothing to deserve it, but his superiors said no, and then they said something about it being baubles with which men are led, and then they made him keep being proud of it.
Kind of like Henry Kissinger, hero.
Yeah, right, yeah. So Butler would go on to win a second Medal of Honor for a separate incident in Haiti in 1915 for taking a city held by 400 rebels with a force of just 100 men, which sounds good, but like if you want an idea how mismatched the two sides were, I just need to point out that 50 Haitians died in this fighting. One American was injured when he got hit by a rock and lost a couple of teeth.
Wow, throwing rocks? Okay, well, this illegal colonization just got a lot less friendly, so...
Right, yes, pretty much.
Christ.
Yeah, but despite all his accolades, when the U.S. entered World War I, Butler was not given a combat command. Officially, he was said to be too unreliable for that. Instead, he was promoted to the rank of brigadier general and given command of the U.S. embarkation camp, which I'll certainly mispronounce, Camp Pontonezen? Nezen? I don't know. But he was so damn good at running the camp that he received distinguished service medals from both the Army and the Navy. And I'm sure the fact that his dad was still the chair of the House Naval Affairs Committee and thus among the most influential civilians in the country when it came to naval funding had nothing to do with that.
Well, while this guy militarily keeps up with the Kardashians, we should take a quick break for some apropos of nothing.
You wanted to see me, sir?
Yes, Smedley. Come in. Got good news, my boy. You've been awarded the Distinguished Medal of Honor and Bravery.
Oh, wow. What an honor, sir. What for?
Well, for, so humble. Why, for your protection of the village at Cartagena, of course.
But, sir, we actually just killed everybody in that village.
Yeah, you did. But the village itself stayed pristine.
I see. Well, thank you, sir.
Not so fast, my boy. That's not all. You also won the Hardcore Medal of Bravery and Honor for your actions in Nicaragua.
I was only there for a day, and all I did was run over a school kid in a crosswalk, sir.
But you did it honorably and bravely.
Sorry, sir. It just seems like a lot of these awards are just barely masked jingoistic public declarations that we're not sorry for the civilians that we killed in our wars.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then, you have any others for me?
Let me look in the desk drawer. Give me a second. Well, when we left off, the system was not keeping the man down. What happened next, Noah?
So after World War I, the U.S. decided to take a quick hiatus from violently enforcing draconian laws that nobody wanted abroad and do that at home instead, often in the form of prohibition. And Butler actually got involved with that, too, in a weird turn of events that saw him take on the role of Philadelphia's Director of Public Safety while still being a commissioned Marine Corps officer. So, as you all know, Prohibition led to this huge increase in organized crime. And in Philadelphia, that led to Mayor W. Freeland Kendrick asking the president to lend the city a military general to help rid the city of crime and the municipal government of corruption. So, in 1924, at the behest of Smedley's dad, Calvin Coolidge authorized him to take all the leave necessary to clean up that town. And he took the job with gusto. So much gusto, in fact, that he raided over 900 speakeasies in his first 48 hours on the job.
You. Wow. Okay. In my head, Prohibition is ridiculous. It's just like 13 years of cops breaking up high school keg parties in the woods, except it's grown-ups, running away and diving into the bushes.
Yeah. I thought it was weird when Al Capone rose to power in your high school, Heath. I meant to tell you that. That was strange.
Felt normal at the time.
No, so here's the thing about Prohibition. It was like speeding, right? In that everybody wanted it to be illegal for other people to do it, not them. And Butler's raids didn't discriminate between upscale and working class establishments. So included in his blitzkrieg were elite institutions like the Ritz-Carlton and the Union League. So real quick, he starts to become super unpopular. He was also terrifyingly violent and once chastised local police for not killing enough bad guys. He said, quote, "I don't believe there is a single bandit notch on a policeman's guns in this city. Go out and get some," end quote. And just to make sure that he also alienated the button-down church-going Law and Order crowd, he also used very objectionable language in his public addresses. Now, after 2 years on the job, the mayor fired him or forced him to resign. And on the way out, he made several very high-profile statements about how hard the mayor could go fuck himself and how much he wished he could finish the job. And to his credit, he had significantly reduced crime and corruption in the city, but at the cost of, like, military-style checkpoints going in and out of town and special bandit squads thuggishly roaming the streets with sawed-off shotguns. So the vast majority of people were not sorry to see him go.
Oh, man. Nowadays, people would have, like, Bandit Squads Matter flags with the Punisher logo.
Yeah.
Smedley would be so proud.
You know,
so proud.
In bandit line with shotguns.
Now, he also played a small but noteworthy role in the Bonus Army's March on Washington. Now, the Bonus Army could be its own episode, and maybe one day it will be, but suffice to say that many veterans of World War I were given these service certificates as bonuses after the war. But the certificates were basically bonds, and they didn't mature for like 20 fucking years in most cases. So when the Great Depression rolls around and everybody's broke, these veterans are like, actually, you know what? I'd like my money now, please. And when Congress said no, about 43,000 of them joined together and marched on Washington.
Good.
And since they're mostly broke and unemployed, fuck ton of them just camped out there. They made a little tent city and they said, we're not going anywhere until you give us our fucking money.
Okay, Noah, if Smedley Butler gets beat up by Bernie Sanders right now, I'm going to be super fucking happy.
Don't be silly, Heath. Bernie was way too old to be beating up protesters in the 1920s. Come on.
Yeah, probably wouldn't.
He just slaps him with the mittens twice. Duel.
Right, yeah. So during this occupation, Smedley Butler pays the camp a very high-profile visit. Now, he's retired from the military at this point, but he's very well known. He's a very popular figure in American politics, and he's received like a king by the Bonus Army. He offers up words of encouragement. He urges them not to do anything that's going to cost them public sympathy, and he leaves. And then, a couple days later, Douglas MacArthur rolls through with a few Army cavalry units, gasses the veterans, and disperses the camp. It's around then that Butler starts to doubt the morality of the U.S. military, and his doubts start to spill into public view. This leads to the, yeah, right? Could you imagine?
Weird line.
Yeah. So in 1935, he publishes this book, War is a Racket, which spells out his opposition to war profiteering, U.S. military adventurism, and what he saw as a tendency towards fascism in the U.S. government. Wikipedia summarizes his view with a quote from an interview in a socialist magazine called Common Sense. And the quote is kind of long, but I think it's worth sharing in its entirety. Quote, I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service, and during that period, I spent most of my time as a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street, and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I helped make Mexico and especially Tampico safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. I helped purify Nicaragua for the International Banking House of Brown Brothers in 1902 through 1912. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar interests in 1916. I helped make Honduras right for American fruit companies in 1903. In China in 1927, I helped see to it that Standard Oil went on its way unmolested. Looking back on it, I might even have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents. End quote.
Okay, but I feel like Al Capone would have given Smedley a hint about making the money on all that stuff. He was getting paid just like a military guy with a basic
shouldn't be
salary.
comparison.
With a bonus check he's trying to cash at the end of it all.
Yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
vest for 20 years. Yeah.
Right. No, so that leads us to the thing that Smedley Butler is most remembered for, the business plot. So the business plot, which you also see referred to as the Wall Street Putsch, was a political conspiracy in 1933 to overthrow the government of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and replace him with a fascist dictator. And the group of businessmen and gazillionaires behind the plot, tapped as the potential head of their new fascist government, well-known anti-fascist Smedley Butler.
Interesting.
No, I get it. People thought they were going to let Bernie be president. You know, these people get ideas.
All it costs to own the Supreme Court is like one yacht trip. What are these people doing? Come on, man.
Right? Yeah. Jesus. Now, a lot of the details here are unclear, and all of the details are unproven. But according to testimony that Butler volunteered to Congress in 1934, he'd been approached by a dude named Gerald McGuire about heading up this coup.
Jerry Maguire? Really?
Yes.
Really?
Well, this was before the movie.
Still feels like a lie.
The movie stole it from this guy. So
Ooh.
McGuire was a bond salesman who said he
Had me at
represented
hello.
a group of wealthy businessmen.
Thank you, Cecil. You stepped ahead of me. I almost did it.
Well, this is going to end with Smedley asking him to show him the money. So, like, I mean, we're going to get back to it.
That's awesome.
So McGuire was a bond salesman who said he represented a group of wealthy businessmen who were terrified of FDR's socialist sympathies as well as his intention of ditching the gold standard. See, and they wanted to put an end to it. And they figured their best bet was to tap into this wellspring of unruly military veterans who figured they were getting shafted by the U.S. government.
2023 lobbyist is listening to this episode like, wow, amateur.
Yeah, right. It didn't come so far. Now, you're probably wondering why the fascist plot would approach a dude who was literally making his living giving speeches and writing books about how bad fascism was to lead this thing. And in retrospect, they probably regretted it. But it's important to note that angry, jilted veterans had been key to installing fascist governments in pretty much all the places that had fascist governments. And given the press surrounding Butler's visit to the Bonus Army encampment, the conspirators figured that he was exactly the kind of person they could get veterans to rally behind. Plus, a quick look at his work as Philadelphia's director of public safety showed that he at least had a little bit of fascist in him.
Yeah, everybody does. That's the whole thing with fascism. Everyone's a fascist about the stuff they care about. Like,
Yes.
I'm all about fascist vaccines with neck darts and fascist Oxford commas, fascist 87,000 IRS agents eating the rich.
Yeah.
I'm fascist about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So Butler agreed to meet with the coup plotters and get all the details, and then he took those details straight to fucking Congress. In November of 1934, he testified to Congress about the plot, which then launched an investigation into the matter. Now, in the immediate aftermath of this testimony, most of the mainstream press dismissed it as fanciful. The New York Times, for example, called it a gigantic hoax. But in the weeks and months that followed, as both Congress and the media investigated, the story became ever more plausible.
Right, like Hugo Chavez stealing those votes from China for Arizona. Exactly. It all
Right,
comes
more
together.
plausible. Well,
The plane to Germany and back or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so of course but that's just the thing, right? Because it became more plausible doesn't mean it fucking happened. The Congressional Committee did ultimately say they had convincing evidence to back up Butler's claims, but they never made with that evidence. And the same committee would eventually become the House Committee on Un-American Activities that Joseph McCarthy would make famous for bullshit investigations.
Yikes.
Right, yeah. So Butler's testimony also had a lot of eerie parallels to the cabal of wealthy Jewish financiers, tropes so common in unfounded conspiracy theories. And from what I can tell, most modern historians who look into this conclude that either none of it ever happened or Butler exaggerated the hell out of how close it came to fruition.
Yeah, feels like the guy at the bar telling a story super loud in response to absolutely nobody saying anything to him ever.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. And a guy who needed to sell his anti-fascist thing to like make a living. All that being said, though, as any American living in a post-January 6th world knows, even the least organized coup attempt can still get some motherfuckers killed. So I guess kudos to Smedley for nipping it in the bud.
Well, I'm glad he kept one eye open. Like that Oath Keeper that just got 18 years, he also had one eye open.
He shot himself in the eye.
He did shot himself
Yes,
in the
right.
eye.
During a safety demonstration.
Yeah, the safety demonstration. Yep.
You had to
did
see
best.
that coming.
Oh.
Nah, he did not see that coming.
Well done. But regardless of the congressional findings,
Nope, it doesn't fit. Jerry Maguire doesn't fit anymore.
rule of threes, I see why you went for it, though.
Yep.
But
I do, though.
regardless of the congressional findings, nobody was ever charged for anything related to the business plot. No punishment was ever handed out. And it's for his part, Smedley would continue to tour and lecture talking about the dangers of military capitalism until his death from cancer in 1940. And according to Wikipedia, quote, after his death, His family maintained his home as it was when he died, including a large quantity of memorabilia he collected throughout his storied career until 2014, end quote. At which point, presumably, they said, who the fuck are we even doing this for? And they sold what they could still make a buck off of, I guess.
Yeah.
Harlan Crow. Yeah.
The old Lord of the Rings strategy.
If you had to summarize it, you learned in one sentence, what would it be?
Smedley Butler is one of the few historical figures that could, at varying points in his life, occupy every spot on the alignment chart, I think.
He can.
Are you ready for the quiz?
Impressive.
Always.
All right, Noah, what was I picturing when I first heard the name Smedley Butler? A, Snidely Whiplash in Gone with the Wind, married to Scarlett O'Hara. B, a guy who wears a giant scarf in the summer for absolutely no reason and claims to be a DJ, but he's clearly not. He's unemployed. Or C, the helper guy at the orgy who brings Gatorade and moist towelettes for everybody.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. All right. So C is there to like subtly imply that he's
Smegma
ever
Butler.
been to an orgy. Yeah,
I
right.
could
So
just
I
know
think it's
about him. You know what?
I think I think that's there to distract me. I think it is A, Snidely Whiplash and Gone with the Wind.
That is correct. Well done.
Okay, Noah, what kind of armed forces awards did they have to make up for this guy to get? A, the Military Academy Award. B, the Killing Fields Medal. C,
Oh, Jesus
Christ, the
There's a whole
Pulitzer
pot
Prize. Or D, he and the three others that got shot in the leg all got the Theismann Trophy.
Oh, just to emphasize the fact that Cecil actually went there, I'm gonna guess it was B, Killing Fields Medal.
It is the. Can I get out of it? No, it's the Killing Fields.
Actually,
You
you
are
can.
correct. All right.
All right, Noah, why did you really choose this topic? A, you'd like to get bright red eyes going as a fearsome and brave expression meme again. Sure. B, you got a sneak peek at Bill Bryson's new book about army guys and you're striking while the iron is hot. Or C, this guy had the closest name to smelly butt it's possible to have and you physically couldn't help yourself.
Honest answer, it was not C. It was not that, so it must be A. It was A.
feel like it was C.
I'm sorry, you're lying. It's C.
It was.
Oh,
God
man.
damn it.
Eli, you won this week.
I win, so
Smelly
I'm going to
butt.
choose my best friend, Cecil.
All right. Well, for Eli, Noah, and Heath, I'm Cecil. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week. By then, I will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, watch Season Liberally on YouTube, which is my cooking channel, and join Heath, Eli, and Noah on God Awful Movies. If you'd like to help keep the show going, make a per episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or you could leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. If you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com. And this is the medal for honor, courageousness, courage, bravery, and bodaciousness.
I kicked a dog, sir.
Bodaciously. You kicked it bodaciously.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely. And parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/getstarted. That's GREENLIGHT.com/getstarted.